Check, check. All right. What is going on, everyone? Back for another 3 at 3. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for joining. So quick note, I guess, on the ongoing experiment of this stream. I originally it was going to be 3 at 3, 3 minutes or 3 topics, 1 minute each at 3 p.m. Turns out that 1 minute is really, really fast to get through a topic. And I kept finding myself, I was only getting through the what and not the why. And I think the why is what matters. So I'm going to try 3 topics, 3 minutes at 3 p.m. and see how this goes. So let's dive right in. Right after I did yesterday's 3 at 3, it was announced that, or it came out that Uber, PayPal, Visa, and a bunch of others were going to be backing the Facebook global coin or Zuckbucks or whatever it ends up being called. And so, that's what the news was. These are companies that are putting in something like $10 million each or whatever. We still don't know what that's going to mean. We don't know what it looks like to run a node. We don't know a lot, but we do know that there's some heavy hitters involved. And so this is interesting in terms of the conversation in Twitter, because everyone kind of has a different opinion about this. I think the one thing that is undeniable is that this is the biggest point of conversation in the industry, exactly like people who predicted it would be, right? Facebook is one of the biggest companies in the world. When it is going all in on a cryptocurrency, even though it may not be a cryptocurrency in the way that we think cryptocurrency should be, it's going to shape the conversation. So let's go through a few perspectives on this. I thought this headline from Ben Munster over at Decrypt was epic. Facebook appoints fellow Silicon Valley oligarchs as ruler of the future crypto economy. I think what this gets at is the idea of the old power coming in and co-opting this new thing, which is supposed to be a different type of power structure. You have Peter McCormick from the What Bitcoin Did and now the Defiance podcast, also kind of sharing this. I think that he kind of sums up what a lot of people feel like, is that there's two sides to this story, right? There is the negative, the no trust, basically, the vote of no confidence in Facebook. And then there's a positive, which is that if you figure, Facebook has 2 billion users, and of them, 10, 15, 20% maybe try their cryptocurrency. And of those people, 5 million or 5% of the 20% actually use that to explore a different type of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. You're talking about 20 or 30 million people who are just exposed. You've got the positive view from Barry Silbert from DCG, who says that it's going to be the Netscape moment. You've got Peter Schiff, the gold bug, saying it's really bad, which I think is kind of silly. And then my favorite take, just from a pure standpoint, is Sarah Jamie Lewis. Can't wait for a cryptocurrency with the ethics of Uber, the censorship resistance of PayPal, and the centralization of Visa, all tied together under the proven privacy of Facebook. So anyways, this is clearly an important conversation, and one that's going to just continue as these things go on. All right, next up. All right, so also announced yesterday, so Binance has been making a lot of moves lately in terms of the U.S. markets in particular. So a few months ago, it was announced that U.S. customers were going to be geo-blocked. Let's start that countdown. We're going to be geo-blocked from using the Binance DEX in the US, or rather, at least they were going to be geo-blocked from using the Binance DEX website, right? This is a clarification that CZ has felt important to clarify in conversations with Vitalik and a couple places I've seen. So anyways, a few months ago, we got this announcement that the Binance DEX website would be geo-blocked for US users. Then we get this announcement yesterday, I think, that Binance was going to be open up a regulated exchange in the US that had a kind of a FinCEN compliant partner. And that was kind of like, oh, cool. So, what else? What's the other shoe to drop? And then this was it. And so after that announcement, it came out that Binance.com, the main exchange, was going to be blocking U.S. users. And this is a pretty huge thing, right? Like, so Binance is the biggest exchange in the world. They have KYC in place in such a way that you can't just use a VPN to go around this, which is something that a lot of people said right at first, is like, well, why can't you just use a VPN? And Binance is the primary source of liquidity for a huge long tail of tokens. And so there's kind of been a couple different perspectives on this. On the one hand are folks who just think that everything that happens on Binance is shitcoins and it's a casino anyways, and so good riddance. And that's fair, that's fine. But then the other perspective is that this has major implications for Well, it's telling about the U.S.'s place and its role in the innovation in this space and in this movement. The U.S. is a place that has, from a narrative perspective, long prided itself on being a global epicenter of innovation, yet its citizens are now blocked from using the biggest exchange in the world, or about to be. And often its entrepreneurs are deciding that they need to go domicile their companies elsewhere and actually move away. So you have a brain drain from the US to other parts of the world. Sometimes that's about lax regulations. Other times it's just about actually knowing what those regulations are for. I see this all the time, and I think that it's a real question for the U.S. And I think people who want regulatory clarity in the U.S. want it for this exact reason, because it creates a situation where we could just get further and further behind. Now, of course, there's other implications too in terms of Binance's business, in particular around BNB. So. Yeah, so you've got this perspective from Alex Dreyfus, who said it won't accept U.S. users anymore, but it's going to be basically better for them from a brand perspective. And Larry points out that a huge number of pairs are going to be gone, and he gets into it. Alex makes a point that this probably means that it's really bad for alts. And this kind of is echoed by Selkis from Masari, who says that this is going to be good for people who use that new exchange to come in through the kind of like the legitimate Binance. They're going to be exposed to BTC and ETH first. So again, it'll be really interesting to see. I think for me, the interesting thing is a little bit more about what it means for the US's place in this industry and just how global it is than the specifics. Although it is interesting to watch what it might mean for BNB, which is currently getting hammered. So let's move on to our third and final topic. All right. So earlier today, I tweeted out something about how whenever I spend any time in other domains, particularly politics or whatever, anywhere that there's a clear group that I'm on one side of, I find myself enjoying or appreciating even more the diversity or an intense diversity of opinions and perspectives in crypto. And I think you can make the argument that within tribes, there's real can be real aggressive and real specific orthodoxy. But I think that if you can kind of exist between those different tribes, you can have some interesting conversations. So in that line, in the spirit of great debate and being interested and open to different perspectives, I thought that this thread by Nick Carter yesterday had to be just one of the threads of the week, month, year. So he made the classic blunder of saying one unpopular opinion about Bitcoin. He made it through about 50. It turns out there was a lot more appetite for this content than he had supposed. And so I just figured in the spirit of cool debate and actually being okay sharing different opinions, I'd roll through a few that I think are interesting. The role of a Bitcoin evangelist should be to manage expectations, not to inflate them. I think that he's right, but I also think it has to do with time scale and who the audience is, right? Sometimes you do need to be a booster to talk about what's possible and why it's so amazing before you get into the limitations as well. You have to get them excited enough that they can actually be interested in those limitations. Let's find another one that I think is important. It is appropriate to question Bitcoin's long-term sustainability. I think for me, this one is not just about the sustainability, it's about orthodoxy and heresy, right? Anytime that you have a movement or an idea or a technology where it becomes heresy to question something about it, you no longer have a movement or a technology, you have a religion, you have a faith group. And that can be powerful from an evangelical perspective and from how people gravitate towards it. But anytime you get into heresy or the creation of or feeling of heresy, you can be on shaky territory. So I think that's a really good one. This one is really interesting. Bitcoin success is very likely to increase global instability. It may not be a force for net good, but the genie is out of the bottle now. I think this is deserving of an entire post. I think that to me, what it reflects is the idea that this technology that we're all kind of a part of and interested in is, at the one hand, an unbelievable force for liberation and self-sovereignty. It is, on the other hand, an incredibly powerful tool for autocrats, for dictators, for people who seek to control the flows of value even more. And it's our job to kind of pull that arc, the long arc of the space towards liberation and sovereignty. So I'll wrap there. I highly, highly encourage you guys to go check out this whole thread, and from there, just dig in. So anyways, I'm going to go check real quickly to see if there are any comments that we got it into. Hated John, how you doing, man? Yeah, it's a few seconds delay as well. All right, guys, I'm not seeing anything, so I will see you back on Monday. We got Long Reads Sunday 51 coming out on Sunday as usual. And then Long Reads Live, where I do the top 5 with Block TV on Monday afternoon. And then we'll be back for another 3 at 3. So thanks for hanging out, and have a good weekend, everyone. Bye.